Welcome to episode 95 of Meet the GIMP. My name is Rolf Steinert and I'm recording this in Bremen, northern Germany. As you perhaps know, Meet the GIMP has a forum. It's to find at forum.meetthegimp.org. And the best thing about this forum is that it's a good place for me to steal ideas. And here's another one, again from Bert. And he calls it Märklinization. Märklin is an old German toy factory famous for its model trains, and they went bankrupt. I think they are not out of business, but it's a not so nice story for them. You find these images under the name fake tilt shift all around in the net. There are a lot of tutorials around for doing this, mostly for Photoshop, of course. But there are some for GIMP, and well, I'll make another one. And now I'll take a page out of Philip's book and start with a real shot of a real toy in real sand with a real macro lens. Sorry, I don't have a tilt shift lens. That's beyond my financial means, and I wouldn't use it often enough. But well, I can fake that. I took this toy, I think it's called a front loader, and put it on the beach of the Weser and made a little scene. And then I shot it with a 105mm macro lens. You'll notice this image isn't sharp everywhere. You see here the guy on the machine is sharp, that's in focus. The front of the back wheel is in focus. This part of the front wheel is in focus. And here the sand has a distinctive area of focus, here and here, which runs straight through the image. And then the more we go away from this zone, the more blur we get into the image. And here we can't see any details anymore. So we have a small zone going through the image. And now let's look how this zone of sharpness is sitting in the image. This is the same scene from the side. Let's mark the spots that are in focus. It's the head of this guy. It was the front of this tire, the back of this tire here, and then we had sand that was in focus. And just let's check where the sand is. It's here between the wheels, and here I think it's a little bit behind the loader here in front. So here and about here. And now when we connect these dots and put a plane through them, we'll find that all these dots are on a plane which runs in this angle through the image. It is this angle here. Let me switch the color. This is running on this angle on the floor. Oh, I must have switched something funny on in the pen tool. Okay, and so this is the base of my focus plane here, and it is tilted a little bit backwards. The reason for that is easy. My angle of view was 90 degrees toward this. I shot from here, and I shot a little bit from upwards. So the distinctive feature of these macro photography is that you have a small depth of field and this cuts a slice through your scene, a slice which is in focus. And this is strictly parallel to your sensor or to your film. But if you have a tilt-shift lens, a lens that you can bend, and like a lens baby, I talked about the lens baby before, like a lens baby or a view cam, where you can tilt and shift the film and the lens holder, then you can shove this plane which cuts through your scene around. I went to a building site here in Bremen and found this scene. As you see, it's not so different from the other one, but this is for real, and I want to make a fake out of it. For being able to plan better, I have also shot the scene from the side. So here is the image I want to change, and here the image I use for planning. I start with picking the parts of the image I want to have in focus. This is an aesthetic decision, nothing technical. So I just put a layer on top of the image here, transparent layer, and I still have my green pen here, and now I'll mark the areas that I think should be in the image. So it's first the guy here. He has to be in focus. And then I have to decide with this machine. And I think the most interesting part of this machine here is this arm with all these hydraulic devices and so on. The rest of the image is not so interesting. This here will be blurred. This is far away. And we will have an area where we have sharpness, because we have this plane, this focal plane running through the image. And now I have to set this plane. And let's look at the other image to see where we have to put this. So first let's mark the details here, the guy and the arm of the machine, and then you see I'm standing here already in the area. So then we are sitting here. He is standing here. Here is the hole. Okay, this construction here has to be in focus. And then, of course, we have a plane running up here in, let's say, 45 degrees to the tracks here. Switch back to the other image. So 45 degrees to the tracks, that would be here. And the thing here, this pillar before the side where he's working on. So these lines here are the front. I think this should be the front of my area. Perhaps I have to go a little bit back to here, and I want to have this area here still in focus. So let's say here this has not to be realistic, physically realistic. It has to be believable. And so let's mark the spots where we want to have this in focus. Perhaps this is not right here. This here, shall I include this? Let's look here. This is going up here, and so this can be in the zone. It would be nice to have this here still in the zone of focus. So if this is in focus, let's switch to the other image. If this here is in focus, going down, yeah, well, this here can be in focus too. And this here too. So we are not that far from physical reality here. Of course, this hill here has to be in focus. Can I see? Oh, he had removed this wood here. So no clue how far to go up here. But let's look here. If yes, here this has to be in focus too. This part of the hillside. So now I have here a real cloud of green dots where I want to have the focus. And now let's just make some lines here. You still remember doing lines with GIMP is putting the pen down, make a dot, go to the next. This is. Let's look where. Here. Use color from gradient. Okay. So start again here. There. Draw a straight line. Make the starting point. Go to the new point, press Shift and click. This is out of focus. So now I want to have this here still out of focus. This is important to go down here because this is farther away than this here. And up here. Okay. This was wrong. Now I have defined my area where I want to have this image in focus. And I should get rid of this here. And now I can just select the area inside here and fill it up with green. So in the final image we'll have this area here in focus, and then a blur starting from here, slight blur, and going to full blur here, and slight blur and going to full blur here in the top right corner. And this blur has to be not uniformly here, because this here, this part and this part have to be blurred the same in the same way, because they have the same distance to the camera. Well, it will become a little bit tricky, but we'll come through that. But now let me first crop this image and resize it so that we can use it. I have tried the filter I'll use, the plugin I'll use, with the whole image, and it took more than an hour to run. Perhaps I need a quad core or something like that. The first thing I check for is if this image needs any rotating. And for that, let me lock these two layers here, because if I now rotate the image, I want to rotate my nodes here too. So the nodes are invisible now, and I just zoom into this area here, and these things here have to be about vertical, and they are tilting to the right, all of them. They don't have to be really vertical, because I've shot them in an angle from upwards, but this image is a little bit tilted to the right. So I choose my rotation tool and set some options before. First I go to the background layer, then I set the options, backwards correction. I want to preview the grid, and I increase the number of grid lines here, and now here I have my grid, and I rotate this a little bit to the right. not too much, can still tilt a bit, and 1.9 degrees. You should do rotating before cropping and resizing, because rotating does a little bit of damage to the image quality. All the pixels have to be shifted and interpolated and so on. And where's my toolbox? There's my toolbox. And this damage is smaller in a high resolution image than in a scaled down version. So let's have a look. This is, I think I've overdone it. Yeah, I've overdone it. Control Z, and now let me rotate. We had 1.8 degrees. Let me rotate it for just the half of that. This looks definitely better. And now a crop. And I want to exclude, let's make an inside-out crop here. So just the stuff that has to be in the image, it's this here. And of course the whole machine has to be in the image. And a little bit of context for the guy has to be in the image. This here has to be in the image. And of course the sand hill has to be in the image. And I want to exclude the shadow here on the right side, but the shadow on the left is good. Perhaps I'll snap it to this here. This structure here is then the end of the image, and I'll include more from the top to make this pit deeper. So this is my plan for now, and now let's switch on the layer here with my plan where to have the area of sharpness, and okay, this is good. Now just click in the image, and here's my crop. The next thing to do is to scale this down, and for that I go to Image, Scale Image, and let's do 800 pixels. It's a nice size for web work, and not so bad for looking at. Here we are, a little bit lighter on the processor load now. Before we go on, let's again compare these two images here. You see here the toy and here reality. This is in a way softer than this. Here is a lot more detail on the machine here. For example, this dirt here, and a lot of fine detail here in the cabin of the machine. And on the other side, this is sharper. This is more. Here is a sharp edge. This is a little bit soft. So this image, this here, the reality, has to be sharpened, and it has to be made a little bit softer in the areas. We have to soften it down everywhere. These smooth areas are giving us this plastic look here. If you look at the tires here, this is clearly plastic. It's overall here and head, and this here, it cries plastic, and we have to put this into here. And on the other side, this here is sharper than this. And of course, this is a case for selective sharpening and selective blurring. I've done an episode about selective sharpening, but that's so long ago, we'll do it again here. For selective sharpening, I double my background layer and rename it to Sharpen. And I add a layer mask. The layer mask is simply a grayscale copy of the image. So add a layer mask, and here grayscale copy of the layer. Now I want to edit this layer mask, show layer mask, and I want to get all the edges in the image. And for that there's a filter called edge detection. For detecting edges there are filters, and they are under edge detect, and there are different ones, and I use this here edge filter packet, which has some more flexibility than a lot of the other filters. And let's take a look at the machine, because these parts here are the most important. And let's make this nice here. I want to have a line where there's an edge and no line where there's no edge. And I think this is okay. Now let's have a look here at the guy. Yes, okay, his tool and outline is quite in there. And now if I unshow the layer mask, you see here we only see the details of the edges here of the different parts, and a little bit of the rest in between. So I have to work a little bit more on this layer mask. I want to have it a little bit crisper. For that I use the curves tool and just enhance the contrast, make the whites a little bit whiter and the blacks a little bit blacker, and the zone in between a little bit smaller. I think this is good. Now have a look again here. You see we have less in the areas here in between, and there's one thing to be done, a little bit of blur to get the sharp edges between the sharpened and unsharpened part out. So filters, blur, Gaussian blur, and this is way too much. This would be nice. So what we have done now is select a part of the image where there is an edge, and when we look at the image, only this this part where the edges are is visible. And now we'll sharpen this image here, and we'll sharpen it, we'll over sharpen it. So enhance, and I'll simply use sharpen, not the unsharp mask. So this here is not enough. If we really overdo it here, we can always go down with the opacity of the sharpened layer. So this, well, it looks more like plastic. This is way too much here. You see really white lines, and I think about this would be right. With sharpening, without sharpening, you see the details pop out more. And this is more like this here. Now the areas here, they have too much detail. After the sharpening, there's still something missing for the plastic look, and that is we have too much detail here in the areas. When I look at my toy here, we have very smooth areas and surfaces, and I want to get them smoother and lose detail. So let's again double the background layer for working on that, and now I unenable here, make invisible the sharpened layer. So this layer will be called plastic. And I'll do that. Now there are a lot of ways to do this, and I'll try it with Unsharp Mask. I go to Filters, Enhance, Unsharp Mask, and here I try something with, this is sharpening now here, I try something with a big radius. You see here, you see this loses detail in the surfaces here. Let's switch this on and off, and it gets a lot more of saturation. When I go up with the amount, it's not good, but let's try 0.2. Now let's look at the surface here of this machine. I think this is the most important part for getting plastic. And I think it looks more like plastic in this way here. And here on the metal, definitely this is plastic, and the guy here also. Now all the textile structure here is gone, and well, I think this is good. Just click OK. Perhaps we can then also get rid of the sharpening. Let's see if we still need the sharpening. Yes, I think we need it. Now we get here a real distinctive plastic look. This is with the sharpening, without the sharpening, and without the plastic look. Now let's check how bad the effect of this plastifying is on the sand here. This is the sand with and without plastifying. I don't think that I have to make a layer mask here. First I feared that I would have been forced to make a layer mask only for the toy here and to keep the sand out of this plastifying, but this looks also good for the sand. And of course this nature here is it has to be scaled down too, and so losing detail here in these toothpicks or matches is also a good thing. Well, I think I'll leave it at this stage for today. One thing I could add were some specular highlights, as you see here, or here, or here. Just reflections from the light source. And we have a little bit of it here, and a really good one on the helmet of the worker here. And I don't know if this is enough or if I should do some more of them. Well, I'll decide that later. We can just put them in later on. The next step, including the blur into this image, is fairly complicated because we have to use a plugin that has its own quirks and so on. And I'll do that next week. Up to then, come to the forum at forum.meetthegimp.org and just join the discussions there. Some very interesting stuff going on just now. and or leave a comment at meetthegimp.org. Now, up to next week. Goodbye.
Photocastnetwork.com, your photography resource in the potosphere. Photocastnetwork.com